show you Artimus's first key capability, which is freight quotation, which, as they mentioned, is when Artimus will parse information from an email or from text entered into the text to load LWC to create the load record, and then also take it a step further and actually create and send out the customer quote as long as there's a matching stored customer rate entry. So it's fully going to automate that cycle of task without any user intervention. All right, let's jump in and take a look. So first thing I'm going to show you is in the AI console, which is just to kind of give you some helpful context. I'll dive into the AI console a little bit later in the demo. But first thing I want to point out here is the confidence score. So essentially what the confidence score says is how confident is the model that it correctly parsed the information from the email or from the text in the text to load LWC to create that record. So how that confidence score is used is if you open up this configuration modal, there's these AI load creation thresholds for loads, customer quote, and truck postings. So as long as the output or the confidence is higher than one of these thresholds, the corresponding record will be created. So as long as the load creation confidence score is over 88, that load will be created. As long as the customer quote has a confidence score over 90, it's going to be created. And then similarly for the truck posting, as long as it's over 88 on the confidence score, that truck posting record will be created. Okay. Another just context that we have, in order for Artimus to correctly parse the emails from your customers, you'll have to set up what's called an email service in Salesforce, which the documentation will go through this in a little bit more detail. But you'll see that there's this long email address that's created. Salesforce does this for security reasons, but I'm going to hop into my email so you can kind of see what we recommend. So this email address, again, is the Salesforce created email. What we would recommend for our customers is to create a branded email and then automatically forward any emails received to that inbox to the Artimus Salesforce email address. So that way your customers don't have to remember this super long email. And it could be something like using Chicago Pizza, for example. It would be loads@chicagopizza.com, so your customers won't forget the email address. Okay. So setup basically done. I'm going to pull up this email that I had already pre-typed up here. So it's got the origin, destination, and some commodity information, as well as the signature, which is going to reference the customer's company name. So I'll go ahead and send that over, and then I'll hop back into my Revinova instance. And how we're matching the companies with the emails is on the contact on the account. So since that one came from my personal Gmail account, it's going to match to the account that I have that contact associated with. So I've created this list view here, which is my new AI generated loads. If I hit a refresh, you can see that the new AI generated load was created down here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that and open it up. Your users are going to be able to use this new AI created load LWC, which shows the exact email input that was sent to Artimus. So hypothetically, in this email, they were checking in on me to make sure I was staying warm in the cold Chicago winter. So this is something where you could pick up the call or pick up the phone and call your customer to keep that human touch there and just make sure you're kind of eyeballing what the email was, but then also benefiting from Artimus being able to create the load and automatically respond to the quote if you don't have time. So there's also this created records section, which breaks down all of the information that Artimus was able to parse. And this is controlled by a new field set that we have here, which is on the load TMS3. And you can see the corresponding fields that are included in the field set are what are shown under this created records section. So that's going to give you some flexibility so you can see just a quick snapshot of the fields that were parsed. And then if I scroll back up to the FQA and go into the customer quote, you'll see that it's in a customer quote status of quoted. And it was automatically generated because it matched on a stored customer rate entry. So if I hop back into my email and I look at my new emails, you'll see that the customer, in this case my personal Gmail, is received a customer quote rate, and it breaks down just like you normally would see in the email loop, where it's got the cost and then the load summary information. So again, it's fully automating that, so your users are able to get the loads created and then respond to the customer quotes all without their intervention. One more thing to point out on the customer TP. So in this example, it's Boston Beans. We have this new field here called AI generated customer quote status. There's two values, either quoted or accepted, and this will determine what status the quote is set. So I have it set to create it as quoted, and so that way the customer would have to manually select it and accept the rate via the email loop instead of automatically accepting it like we do for most stored rate entries. So again, just giving you ultimate flexibility to determine, what level of workflow you want to automate using Artimus. And then the last thing I will point out is I created a utility item for the text-to-load LWC. And we're super excited about this being a utility item because hypothetically, let's say you're invoicing some customers and you're in the middle of it and you really don't want to jump out of it, but for whatever reason you have a customer that called you and urgently needs a quote. Instead of having to go to the load record, you can just pop open the utility item, select the customer that you're trying to quote for, enter their contact information, decide if you want to send the customer quote out or not, and then type in the specific load information. So say they're on the phone and they're telling you they have a load from Chicago going to San Diego, and it's 2 pallets at 500 pounds of bananas. You can go ahead and hit go here, all while you're talking with your customer, again, not having to interrupt your workflow. And then you can see that load was created. You can click on the load record, and then it's going to follow that same threshold logic that we use for parsing the emails. And the email, similarly to parsing the emails, will send out the quote directly to your customer. All right, so that is Artimus's first key capability that we've released in the Winter 25 release, which is the freight quotation. Now I'm going to transition it over to David so he can show you the second key capability, which is carrier capacity.
Thanks, Alyssa. So let's take a look at the truck posting ability through Artimus. As Alyssa was mentioning previous, you have the ability through emails from, let's say, a dispatcher to receive capacity lists and then ingest or parse the text of those emails and create truck postings all through the AI engine. And so I'm going to take a look here at an email that I have queued up to send, and this is being sent from Arsenal Gunners, just a made-up carrier in our system. And in the email here, you can see pretty clear, the email says that we've got some trucks tomorrow that are all dry vans. The 3 trucks posted are Chicago to Denver, Atlanta to Chicago, as well as Denver to Phoenix. So I'm going to go ahead and send that email. And I'm going to pull up the AI console here. I'm going to press refresh. And there we go. You can see the truck posting was just ingested into the system. And just to take a look through all the fields here to confirm that everything was correct, you can see that are all dry vans that were posted for Arsenal Gunners, Chicago to Denver, and Atlanta to Chicago, and a Denver to Phoenix, with a 96 confidence score. So like Alyssa said, those records will automatically be created. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up the truck postings, and I'm going to pull up all. And we can see here that we have a Denver truck, an Atlanta truck, and a Chicago truck that were all created just 1 minute ago. And I'll open up one of them just to get a closer look here. You can see I put the MC number as well into the email. And so Artimus was able to properly parse all of the text and create the record without the user having to intervene at all. And then let me go over to the AI console record. I'm going to show one more feature here. Let's say the user internally wants to also utilize Artimus without having to use it through email, but let's say they're on the phone and they want to say, I can go ahead and post this text, and Artimus will go and, similar to an email, create the record based off of the input. And you can see that the record was created. And so just another kind of cool on-platform feature to utilize AI as well. And I'm going to pass it back to Alyssa to dive a little bit more into the AI console.
Awesome. Thanks, David. Okay, so I'm going to show you the AI console, which is our admin LWC that allows you to basically review the information that is coming in and generated from Artimus, set those thresholds to determine how much you want to automate, as well as train the model on your data so that you can receive better output. Okay, let's take a look. So the first thing I'm going to show you is really just kind of a configuration setup piece. So I am on TMS admin in the mode table, and we've added this new AI enabled field, which I've enabled for LTL and truckload. And essentially what this does is sends to OpenAI what modes are enabled and should be used in order to create the load record. So highly recommend only enabling modes that you use. So if for whatever reason your org is not doing any air freight or you don't have any ocean FCL business, highly would recommend not checking AI enabled so that it doesn't inadvertently confuse the model for no reason if it's not something that affects your business. All right, so now I'm going to jump into the AI console, which I briefly talked about, the confidence score, which again is just the confidence of the model that it correctly parsed the email or the text that was entered into the text to load or text to truck posting LWCs. But when I open up this configuration, you'll see that there's this AI model drop-down list, which comes with the 2 packaged models, as well as if you create your own custom model, that would be in an available selection here. You could then set the different thresholds depending on the model that you're using, as well as this AI console default lookback hours, which is going to basically just show how many hours are defaulted here and like what search criteria is pulled back. A really important feature here is also the AI transactions license and AI transactions that are used. We also break down the training transactions for the licensed and the used so that you're able to see exactly what's remaining. And if you have any specific questions about the costs associated with the license, go ahead and reach out to your sales reps and they'll be able to break that down for you. Alrighty, so let's take a look at the actual text. So how your admins would be able to use this is this one is got a 99% confidence. So likely there's not going to be much that your admin would need to be editing since it was over the threshold and the record was automatically created. But what you're able to do is if for some reason in the email there was an MC number that was included in the text, but Artimus didn't correctly parse that out, you're able to add, hypothetically, let's just add an MC number here, and we can change this to a Conestoga and then save. This will actually save the output that you edited, and then you can create a record from the changes that you made so that it has the most up-to-date information. So you can see once that toast popped up, I now have a new truck posting with the information that I edited. You're also able to delete a record. So again, just giving your admins the ability to make sure that the outputs that Artimus is generating is specific and correct. I am going to pull up an example that I have here. So again, using the utility item, I've got some load information here. I'm going to go ahead and hit go and wait for Artimus to try and create the load. So we've got this warning. It basically is saying that no records were created. So what your admin is able to do is take a look at that one that was just created. So I'm going to take a look at text 30. And you can again see this is the information that I entered. And it's got a confidence score of 85, which is still pretty good, but it's under the threshold that I had set for creating a load. So your admins are able to monitor this to decide, okay, what did Artimus miss? It's got the LTL, which is the correct load since it's only correct mode since it's only 3 pallets. It's got the correct origin and destination information. Looks like it got the wine barrels correctly and that it's 3 pallets. So in this instance, it looks like Artimus was being a little bit cautious when it really should have been more confident in its ability. So I am going to go ahead and actually create a training record and associate it to a training set and go ahead and hit create. So what this is going to do is create a training record so that next time if Artimus sees something similar via email or via the text LWC, it's going to be a little bit more confident to know, okay, I can go ahead and create the load information. I did this accurately. Another thing that you can do as far as training the model is hypothetically, so I worked in LTL at my previous job, and I know that wine barrels happen to be class 200. So Artimus created this load at class 70. So I'm going to go ahead and update this record so that the NMFC class is 200, hit save, and then create a new training record for that. I'm going to go ahead and keep it in the same training set and hit create. So what this will do is make sure that the next time Artimus sees a load or text that references wine barrels, it's going to look and think, okay, I know that wine barrels should be class 200. And what that looks like is if I click on this little icon here for the model training, you can go ahead and select the custom model that you're attempting to train, and then select the training set. And within this set is going to be those training records that I just created in the AI console. So you can click on these individually, see the information that you're using, which is essentially giving Artimus the answers. So it's parsing the text and saying, okay, this is all the information from the email. This is what I think the output should be. And since you created that training record, you're giving them the answers to say this is exactly what you should be looking for when you see that type of email. So training is going to be a super, super helpful tool so that you can make sure that your data is creating the correct outputs specific to your business and your needs. Last thing I'll point out is jumping back into the AI console. So today for the Artimus version 1, or the MVP as we like to call it, the output that we're trying to parse from an email is limited to these specific fields. So we're looking for mode, we're looking for the pickup information as well as the delivery information, and then this commodity info. So if for whatever reason the customer includes hypothetically a PO number, for example, Artimus is not going to parse that and put it into the PO number field. So that's something that you would want to utilize the AI created load LWC. You would see the input from AI and it would show you that it had the PO number referenced, and then your users could go in here and adjust the corresponding fields. But that's to kind of give you an idea of what type of data that you can input and then actually use to customize the model specific to your business and your needs.